Good day, Professional Skills 2 students, and congratulations, you have made it to the last lesson. This is lesson 28, and we're going to be talking about preparing for an interview. Now, this slideshow does have some pretty scary animations, but bear with me. It's your last lesson. Celebrate. Now, there's a lot of content in these slides, so I'm going to go through it quite quickly. Be sure that you download the slides from Call Campus so that you have access to them. Pause this video at any point if you need to write down questions. I do encourage you to have a pen and paper in front of you and to pause the video as many times as you want to, just to make sure that you can answer any questions if you've got any thoughts about them, because I'm going to be going through quite a few pertinent questions that you might be asked in a job interview. So how would you prepare for a job interview? Once you've landed yourself an interview, you have to make sure that you are prepared. So companies have embraced technology quite quickly recently. So this could mean a couple things: that your interview could be over WhatsApp, Skype, Zoom, Google Meetings. Make sure that you're comfortable with all of these. Download them, have an interview with your friend, and practice those skills. Find out as much as you can about the company. So things like the product offering, the size, the market position, where they are, the position of the person you're seeing, and know where you would fit in, and also understand the job requirements. This will all be based, well, not all of it, but a lot of this will come from the job advert, and the rest you can find online. Always make sure that you make a good first impression, and these start from when you enter reception. It's often based on your appearance, so your mode of dress should be clean cut and conservative. Most importantly, you need to appear clean and tidy, and you need to look professional. I know this changes according to where you are going to work, but it doesn't hurt to look clean and tidy and to dress smartly, especially for the interview. Then you can dial it back a little bit as you go. So your makeup should be light, your hair cleaned, and your nails groomed. Use deodorant. You don't want to smell bad. Don't shake their hand at this point. Greet your interviewer by their name. Don't worry if you appear nervous, because this shows that you're taking everything seriously. Don't chew gum, and maintain eye contact. Speak clearly. Think before you ask technical questions. It's also a good way to stall, to say, that's a good question. I've never thought of it from that point of view before. I suppose my answer would be. You've given yourself a full 10 seconds there to think about what it could be. Remember to just answer as intelligently as possible. Use creative problem solving, because your answers don't always have to be correct. They're often just checking for your technical reasoning ability. Your nonverbal communication and attitude is also important. And if you have a panel interview, communicate with all panel members looking at them in the eye. Be polite and professional at all times. Always be on time. Be 15 minutes early, probably. I show up an hour early sometimes, because you never know what traffic is going to be like. Are you going to be able to find parking? Are you going to have to walk? Because people don't take these kinds of excuses lightly. If you're late for an interview, you're going to be late for the job as well. So rather wait in the car or in reception than be late. Don't use profanities. I think this is quite obvious. Take copies of documents with you, so your CV needs to be updated and accurate. And never lie about your qualifications or salary, because companies definitely check up on this. Your personality is very important, and these are some of the things that we need to work towards embodying. So things to think about: self-branding. You are there to sell yourself, and you are your own best marketer. So market yourself in the best possible light. Often you are up against competition. There are a lot of other people vying for your position, and those people also might have more experience than you. So market yourself. How are you as a student, a recent graduate, going to offer more than what somebody with more experience might have? And always enjoy the process of interviewing. Yes, it's a bit nerve-wracking, but you get to speak about yourself for half an hour to an hour. That's not a bad thing. And always try and learn from every single experience. So why do you think that interview went well? Use this process of reflection. What could you do better next time? So questions from the interviewer are aimed at gaining a couple of different things. They want to check your ability, but they also want to check your suitability for the job. So have your facts about the company rehearsed. Know exactly what they do. Don't be intimidated by the interviewer, but don't be rude either. Don't talk about any previous issues that you've had in any other jobs. Volunteer information. Yes or no is not enough. So even if it just seems like a yes or no question, give more information. And keep your answers succinct. Don't ramble. Don't give unnecessary information. So in the interview, these are a couple of good tips. Listen, be honest, don't talk down previous companies. If you don't understand a question, ask, and don't become overly familiar with your interviewer. The interviewer will then tell you in more detail about the job. So watch their body language and watch your body language. It's a good idea to try and mirror their body language even. Positive attitude is always important. Don't ever be negative in a job interview. Always seem positive. You can turn it down later. And use the interview as an opportunity. When the interviewer asks if you have any questions, it's a sign that the interview is almost over. But always have a question to ask. It shows intelligence and interest. You can create questions from any of the following, so pause here and look through them and see if there are any options here that you might be able to use. So towards the end of the interview, if you're asked about your interest in the position, always show enthusiasm at that point, even if you plan on turning it down later. Don't turn down a job immediately because there probably is room for negotiation. Be positive about the company because there might even be another position available. You might not fit this one, but you might fit another one. If you really want the position and they offer it to you, take it. But always negotiate your salary. Last impressions are almost as important as first ones. So the way that you leave the interview will always leave an impression. It's always a great idea to send a follow-up email thanking them for the opportunity to interview you. So here are some questions that could be asked. I'd like you to pause the video at each of these slides and take some time to actually answer these questions. I really want you to focus on this one of weakness. I think that's the next slide. But I really want you to come out with a good weakness. Alright, so here are some tips according to Forbes magazine. I hope you've gone through all of those questions in the previous slides, because those are updated questions that a lot of companies are asking these days. I do encourage you to just go and do your research on Google. There are so many great resources out there. But just remember the difference between interviewing for jobs in America versus South Africa, small companies, big companies. These might all have different things that they focus in on. So just be aware of that in your research and try to find South African companies or South African sources if you are interviewing in South Africa. And if you're interviewing in other countries, find sources from those countries. So here are some tips from Forbes magazine. Research everything that you can about the company. Use Google Alerts to keep up to date with companies that are in the news. If you don't know how to do a Google Alert, Google how to do a Google Alert. Clean up your social media presence. This is a big one, and I really encourage all of you to do this. 91% of potential employers search your Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and these days, TikTok profiles. Would they like what they saw? I'm not telling you to completely get yourself off of all of these platforms. Obviously, you are allowed a sense of your own personal life, but in a lot of cases, people have been dismissed for what they've done on social media. So it stands to reason that they might not hire you if they don't like what they easily found about you on social media. Craft your story statement. And this is something that I heard coming up a lot during the lockdown about what brands are doing at the moment. It's not good enough to just say, I have a product, here it is, buy it. And the same goes for job interviews. What is your story? Why are you motivated to be here? Why do you want to work in this position? And why does this company appeal to you? What is your story? How are you marketing yourself? So this needs to show that you're a person and not just a professional. You're not just a set of skills. You're not just a Sheldon. You are a functioning person who can contribute to the organization. It also needs to show that you fit into the organization, because that's a lot of the time what people want to see. Will you be able to work here? Will we be able to get along? I've said already to prepare for your what is your weakness question. Don't say something total cop-out like I'm a perfectionist or I'm a workaholic, because they're not actually weaknesses, and they're also rarely overused. So this isn't just about admitting a weakness, but it's rather about showing that you do have a weakness and this is how you overcome them. What systems have you put in place? What progress have you made? So I gave you a weakness of mine recently, and that is that I don't really remember things that I'm told verbally. I need to write things down. So that is a big thing for me when I go into a new environment. If somebody gives me verbal instructions, I write them down and I say, hang on a second, please stop there and let me finish my notes, because I won't remember this otherwise. And I always give that as a weakness, that I struggle to remember things verbally. So I always carry around a diary and make sure I write things down. I'll also send follow-up emails after phone calls. So if you have a phone call with someone, I will make notes. I'll make sure that I've written everything down. And then I will send an email to the person that I was just talking to and say, as per our phone conversation, this is what I took out of it. Do you agree with everything here? And have I forgotten anything? And it also shows that you are motivated, you are willing to put in the extra mile, and you also have attention to detail. You want to make sure that you're getting things right. Always ask a question at the end. These questions should kill two birds with one stone. In other words, they should achieve two purposes. So first of all, you're asking a genuine question, and also you're conveying something new about you. So for example, here's a weak question. Are there any opportunities for community service? Because all that's doing is asking a question. But a strong question is something like, I used to work for Habitat for Humanity, and I was so grateful to have the opportunity to give back. For a full-time employee, are there any community service events that I could take part in? Now that's the end of our lectures for professional skills 2. Although you do still have your experiential learning ahead of you, as well as your summative assessments. I really do wish all of you the best of luck in this process. You guys have come this far, and you're really going to do well for the rest of your studies at BMH, but I also know that you're going to go out into the world and do yourselves proud. So good luck. Well done for getting this far, and I wish you all the best. This is Julia Clark. Last lecture. Get in touch if you need to. Bye.